Peanuts! Peanuts!
Good morning, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the Bat Around. I'm your host, Paul Bailey, and joining me back with us today from Pigtown Sports, he is Zach Moore. Zach, good morning. How are you today?
Been doing good, man. How you been?
Been doing well. Been doing well. Orioles pretty damn active this offseason to start. So feeling pretty, despite what people may think, feeling pretty good about how this offseason is unwinding here. Today's show is brought to you by Help My Gambling Problem. If you or a loved one has a gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit helpmygamblingproblem.org for free confidential services. And yeah, let's jump right into it, Zach. It was, I believe, Tuesday night. It was late Tuesday night, almost midnight. When it comes across our ticker on whatever sports channel you were watching, it says Orioles trade Grayson Rodriguez to the Los Angeles Angels. In return, they get Taylor Ward. Taylor Ward last year hit 228 with a 317 on base percentage, 175 strikeouts, but 75 walks, 36 home runs, 103 RBI. Grayson Rodriguez, on the other hand, hasn't pitched in a big league game since July 31st, 2024. In his career, in 43 starts, he's 20-8 with a 4.11 ERA. However, since the start of the second half of 2023, he is 18-6 with a 3.35 ERA in 33 starts. Problem is, 33 starts is basically one full season, and that's his numbers for 2.5 full seasons, including 2025 when he didn't set foot on a pitcher's mound.
Yep.
Angels didn't make him take a physical, at least not yet. I don't think that when trades are consummated, they really make you take a physical right at the beginning. But it seems like this was an as-is trade. They get 4 years of control for a 26-year-old potential ace starting pitcher in Grayson Rodriguez. The Orioles, on the other hand, get 1 year of Taylor Ward. My initial reaction was, I hate this trade. And has nothing to do with Grayson Rodriguez. If the Orioles don't think he can be healthy, or the rumors are true that he kind of became a malcontent in that clubhouse and was not happy with the team and is refusing surgery and this, that, and the other, then fine, so be it. You trade Grayson Rodriguez, you trade Grayson Rodriguez. That's not really what I'm upset about, especially because I anticipate the Orioles replacing him with 2 starting pitchers who are potentially better than he is, right? My issue is that I firmly believe that Taylor Ward is now the only offensive addition that the Orioles are going to make to this team. And I believe that because they haven't given me a reason not to believe it, despite Mike Elias saying last night in the press conference, or the I guess teleconference with the Orioles media, that he's still working to upgrade the Orioles lineup. And when you tell me that a guy who slashed 228, 317 with an OPS under 800 last year and 175 strikeouts is their big addition to the middle of the order, I look back to the second half of 2024 and the 2 postseason games in 2024 when they scored 1 run in 2 games. And I look at Anthony Santander, who hit 235 with a 307 on base percentage, struck out a bunch, hit 44 home runs, drove in 102. And I say, how does this get the Orioles over the hump? How does a guy like Taylor Ward make the Orioles better? Yes, nobody hit more than 17 home runs for this ball club last year. 36 home runs will infuse a lot more power. But you're still going to have a guy who hit 246 with runners in scoring position last year, runner on third, less than 2 outs. I think he hit under 100. So when I look at that, I say, this isn't a guy who you can anticipate is going to put the bat on the ball in any given situation. We already have a Colton Cowser who struggled to hit his weight, strikes out 150 plus times a year, and doesn't hit well with runners in scoring position. So how does this make the Orioles better? That's my knee-jerk reaction. Love hitting 30-plus home runs, love hitting 100 RBIs, love adding that to the lineup. I just feel like they need to add a more complete hitter to put them over the hump.
So from the people that I've talked to around the team, they're in on Pete Schwarber and Bo Bichette. They've talked to all three of them already numerous times via Skype, Zoom. I don't even know, whatever they're using. They're trying to get a deal done with two of the three. So, I mean, that would be great. Penn's got to hit the paper at this point, though.
Right.
Taylor, I think, is a great addition, honestly. And look, I'm on record on Twitter and saying that Grayson was a clubhouse issue, and that's why he was gone. Teams don't get rid of guys with 4 years of control because of injury history. They don't. Kyle Bradish is on his second or third surgery. Tyler Wells' second or third surgery. Felix Bautista's on his third surgery. They're not gone. Teams don't give up on guys because of injuries. So this whole media thing that they traded Grayson because they don't think that his arm's healthy, it's baloney. There was other reasons, and they basically shopped him around, found their best deal. And look, the outfield, the right-handed outfield market, not very good this year. It's even worse next year. I think there's only 7 right-handed hitters next year in the free agency market, and 4 of them are likely retiring, unless George Springer wants to try to play till he's 40. But you're not signing a 40-year-old George Springer or whatever he'll be next year, 38. So it's thin. So to think that Taylor Ward gets an extension is probably, I would say, on the higher end of 75%. They're going to try and keep that bat around. I found his numbers to be very interesting last year. He hit 188 at home with just 15 home runs and 49 RBIs. Not very good, but it's not a hitter's ballpark. But what he did on the road was hit 268 with 21 home runs and 60 RBIs, or 54 RBIs, sorry. And the walks were 43 to 78 Ks, completely different hitter on the road. Now, why? I don't know. You could speculate plenty of things, but to see maybe what he could bring, getting out of LA, getting into Baltimore, which is probably more of a hitter-friendly ballpark, would he hit better than 228? I would say probably yes. I mean, you got to think. Camden Yards is a hitter's ballpark. Yankee Stadium's a hitter's ballpark. He could sit there and pepper the wall in Boston for freaking every at bat, for a single or a double. And even Tropicana is a pretty hitter's ballpark. Toronto, we know for fact, is a right-hander heavy ballpark. So this could present him an opportunity to be better than last year, along with the power. And he's gotten better every year with the power. He's made some adjustments to his swing. I've kind of looked at his swing path tilt, how he stood in the box, where he stood in the box. He's made adjustments every year since 2022 and gotten a little bit better every single year. So you bring him in with these new coaches that we're going to talk about later in the show and maybe get him more focused on contact, backspin, stuff like that. Who knows what they could do with this guy? Donnie Ecker is highly regarded around baseball as one of the best offensive minds. And then Dustin Lin, I mean, he's been around some winning ball clubs between the Giants and the Phillies. And Kevin Long is probably one of the most respected hitting coaches in the game. He got to learn under him for 2 years. There's a lot to what's coming here that could help these guys. So I'm thinking that Taylor Ward probably has a decent season here. And if you can keep a Tyler O'Neill healthy, and maybe he'll get back to his regular career numbers. He's a 230, 240 hitter with 20, 25 home run in him, which is fine. I mean, we need that. Get Colton Cowser back to hitting 20, 25 home runs and not hitting 200 or below, getting Adley Rutschman back to 265. There's a lot of variables at play here that could help Taylor Ward. I don't think he's going to be the only offensive addition, though. Obviously, Penn has to hit the paper, but from what I'm hearing, things are going to get pretty spicy this offseason here.
Sean Whipple says, let him have it, Zach.
He's been reading your Twitter.
Yeah, let me have what? Let me have
He's been reading your Twitter.
so let me be clear. Let me be clear, because I feel like there's a big misunderstanding here. I don't hate bringing Taylor Ward onto the team. I don't hate that. I hate it if he's the only move, because he's not the complete hitter that they need to be the main addition. Okay? You don't have to like that. That's my opinion. I'm not going to change my opinion to make you feel better. All right? There's nothing to let me have. Zach doesn't come on this show to let me have it. Zach comes on this show because we like to talk baseball. And the fact of the matter is, I'm 41 years old. The Orioles have made the playoffs 7 times. 7 times in my entire life. Never gotten past the ALCS. So, yeah, I want them to sign a hitter that can hit 280 with a 360 on base percentage and an 830 plus OPS, which was Taylor Ward in 2022. If Taylor Ward can replicate that slash line in 2026 and he drops 30 home runs, it's exactly what the Orioles need. However, I do believe that the Orioles need more than that. If that's,
he's a good compliment.
He's a thank you. He's a complimentary player. If he bats sixth for the Orioles and they bring in a Pete Alonso or they bring in a Kyle Tucker or a Cody Bellinger, then suddenly they have one of the best offenses in baseball. All right, you heard what Zach was just saying, right? Which was if Colton Cowser can get back to hitting 20, 25 home runs and not hitting below 200, if Tyler O'Neill can stay healthy and hit 25 home runs, if Adley Rutschman can get back to being the hitter he was the first half of 2024, if Gunnar Henderson gets back to he was, if Jordan Westburg doesn't have freak injuries, if Jackson Holiday takes that next step forward. We had all of these ifs last offseason, and what happened? Right? Everybody progressed across the board. So to sit there and say that we should anticipate that all those things are going to happen, we're not living in reality there. We just aren't.
Yeah.
I like Taylor Ward. I like adding 36 homers and 100 RBIs and 75 walks to the lineup. I don't like adding 175 strikeouts and a 317 on base percentage as the only move. There's nothing to let me have. I believe that the team needs to be better than that. And from what Zach's saying, makes me excited. I maybe they will. It gives me more hope to know that Zach knows people in the industry who are saying the Orioles are being really aggressive and they've made offers. Have they made offers? Is that what you said, or they're attempting to make offers?
No, just Skype meetings. They've talked to a couple closers too. The only thing I've really been told was they're just completely out on Devin Williams after speaking with him.
Well, and I'm glad about that. He had a terrible year, and he's also pretty arrogant for somebody who had a terrible year last year. But look, the other thing is, if they go out and they sign two frontline starting pitchers or trade for one, sign another, trade for two. I don't care how they do it, but they bring two frontline starting pitchers. They bring in a legitimate back end closer and setup man. Like suddenly, Taylor Ward looks that much better because now they also don't need to score 5 to 6 runs a game. They can score 4 runs and win most of their ball games. We saw what happened with the pitching staff the first half of 24 when everybody was healthy. The Orioles had the best rotation in baseball. The offense was not great, but not terrible. And they were winning. They were the best team in baseball, and then everybody got hurt. So if you bring in two starting pitchers, two legitimate starting pitchers, a closer, a setup man, now all of a sudden Taylor Ward looks that much better because of what you have around him. And I do believe that a guy like Gunnar Henderson will get back to hitting 30-plus home runs. And Jordan Westburg, if he stays healthy, will hit 20-plus home runs. And if Samuel Basallo takes that next step, which you expect him to do, then all of a sudden this lineup is that much more formidable. But for right now, I mean, last year I convinced myself that signing Sagano and Morton and O'Neill were good moves that we're going to get the Orioles to take that next step and improve upon 2024, and it blew up in our faces. So until we see more, I have to go based on what they do, not what I speculate they're going to do moving forward.
Yeah, pen's got to hit the paper. I mean, we all have PTSD of this organization, so I mean, it's nice to hear things. We haven't. Yeah, we heard some grumblings last year, but I mean, prior to last year, we've really never even heard the Orioles ever in on anybody. So it is a little bit a step in the right direction, so to say. But pen's still got to hit the paper. I'm looking actually at Taylor Ward maybe hitting 3-hole for us, which sounds kind of weird. I don't know who you would have hitting 2-hole really, but I'm looking at what Ward did last year. He had 125 plate appearances in 3-hole, had 913 OPS. You put him at 3, Gunnar at 4, and then maybe Pete Alonso at 5. You're talking about the ultimate protection right there, because Pete really doesn't need much protection behind him, even though there still would be neither Tyler O'Neill or Cowser, or maybe you leave Beavers off, and then Adley squeaks into 2-hole somehow, probably. But you land Pete Alonso, and this offense is probably one of the better ones in the AL, I think, if everybody else comes back to at least what we think they should be. And we're not saying that all of these guys are going to be 300 hitters, but just get back to where we think you should be, 240, 250, right? Just got to be an average major league player. But if you have Gunnar, Taylor Ward, and Pete Alonso in the middle of that lineup, everybody else is average to above average, then you're looking at a damn good offensive production in 2026. So I'd like it, but
absolutely. You add Pete Alonso, you've got Gunnar hitting third, you probably have Alonso 4 and then Ward 5th. Like suddenly, yes, this offense is ridiculous because now Gunnar's going to get that much more to hit, because if you don't get him out, then all of a sudden you've got to face Alonso, and then you've got to face Ward. You've got all these guys with a ton of power that can just really, really crush you. Like I said, I like the Wards. I like in a vacuum. I like Taylor Ward being added to this offense, but it can't just be him.
Right.
It can't just be him, because then you have the same offense that you had the second half of 2024, and I don't see how that makes you better, because we saw what happened from basically July on that season. That's
right.
That's all I'm saying. And before we get into it, I want to remind everybody today's show brought to you by Project Game Day. Pressbox's Project Game Day continues this week following Ravens Jets with your hosts Glenn Clark and Rita Hubbard, special guest Ken Zaus, Andrew Stecca, and former Ravens linebacker Tyus Bowser. You can watch the show on Facebook, YouTube, or at PressBoxOnline.com/Game Day. Project Game Day is brought to you by 1-800-GAMBLER, Costas Inn, Game Day Men's Health, and Live Casino and Hotel. So the idea of bringing in Pete Alonso, and I said last year, middle of the season, the Orioles should be all in on Pete Alonso, because Mountcastle, you're either going to non-tender him or you're going to sign him, or you're going to tender him and then trade him. You don't know what Kobe Mayo is going to be. And yeah, Kobe Mayo had a great September, but I mean, Cade Povich had a great September in 24, and he was very middling last year, right? So you don't know what you're going to get out of Kobe Mayo. You bring in Pete Alonso, this team can really take off. The Orioles tendered Mountcastle a contract last night. A lot of fans thought he was going to be non-tendered. I anticipated, because I think that they want to trade him, or at the very least, they want to have his defense at first base. They want to have his defense at first base because they've got to be fundamentally sound, and they were very
get the dog out of here.
Fundamentally flawed defensively last season. Ryan Mountcastle shores up some of your infield defense there, and I think that that's a reason why they're not writing him off. But I do think that they try to bring in maybe a Pete Alonso, and they put themselves in a situation where they're willing to trade Ryan Mountcastle. Were you anticipating exactly? Well, I know, at least I was anticipating that they were going to tender a contract to Mountcastle, because at the very least, if you can't trade him, you keep his glove in the organization, hope that his back comes back around. Were you surprised he was tendered the contract last night?
I said online that it would be shocking that he did get a contract, because everybody expected him to be gone, and I did too at first. And then when he did get one, I was like, it kind of does make sense. Like, if you are trying to trade Kobe Mayo, you have an insurance policy. If maybe one of the two are hurt or something that we don't know about yet, you have an insurance policy. If you don't land Pete Alonso, you still have an insurance policy. Now, because you tendered him a contract, you still have to go through arbitration. Tendering him a contract gives them time. He's owed no money until they agree to it in court. Now, we know that they can extend that through the middle of spring training. So he can start spring training and then still get traded or get DFA'd and not owed a dime. So if they get past arbitration and they cut him at the end of spring training, they only owe him 20%. So say if he gets I'm rounding up, $8 million arbitration, you only owe him like $1.6, $1.8 million. Like, I'll take that. Like, it's cool for him. They just gave that. I can't remember the second baseman's name last year that was supposed to start over Holiday. Was that 24? That was last year, right?
Are you talking about they're supposed to start over Holiday at second base?
Yeah, remember they signed that old guy, and everybody was like, "Why are they bringing this dude in?"
Matt Kemp.
Tony Kemp.
Tony Kemp.
Yeah, they gave Tony Kemp $1 million.
Yeah, Tony Kemp.
So you give Tony Kemp $1 million. Like, at this point, like, who cares if Ryan Mountcastle gets $1.6 million and you cut him in spring training? Like, who cares? So I think he deserves that from the Orioles at least. But tendering him a contract at this point just gives them time to figure out a trade for Mayo maybe, or trade for him, like whatever somebody values. So he's not owed any money right this second. So it's okay that the Orioles did this. It just buys them a couple more weeks, actually really a couple more months. And then kind of figure out what they're going to do, plus have an insurance policy if they can't land Pete Alonso or whatnot. I wouldn't hate it if he got to work with these guys. Just I did pull the numbers last night. The organizational hitting velocity was terrible. I would love to see maybe what he could do with somebody else. Just to see. I mean, he has good bat to ball skills. I know he chases the whole damn team chase, so it's not just a him thing. So he's got good bat to ball skills. His average has always been pretty decent. He hit the ball the other way. Maybe get these guys back in, getting him back in his mind that yes, you are powerful. Pull the ball a little bit. Start hitting it on line, hit that backspin like you used to. I mean, the guy hit 30 home runs in the big leagues. It's not like he can't do it. Was it a fluke? Maybe, but it is there. You just got to try and find it. I don't know. But it gives him time. So there's nothing wrong with just at least having time.
Yeah. Can you hear me better? Is this better?
I think you have to select the new mic.
It said that it was selected. Let's
There you go. Oh, nope. Now you're silent.
Let's see.
That sounds better.
Better?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, because we were, good audio, bad audio. Audio is choppy. My microphone stand is effed up, and I'm trying to get it fixed. I don't have one that I can put the microphone on. So unless I want to hold it all show, which I'll do because I want people to be able to hear me better, that's why I was just going through the laptop. But we'll go with this. Look, they can. Just by saying that they're tendering him a contract, that doesn't mean that there's a contract for. I mean, there is a contract for him to sign if they tendered him one, but that doesn't mean that they're going to agree to it. And how many times do you see somebody that's arbitration eligible, they tender the contract, nothing gets signed, they trade them, and then they go to arbitration with the new team that they got traded to. So by tendering him a contract, it keeps him here available to, like you were saying, Zach, available to either still be traded, still be cut, or be kept to shore up the defense, because defensively, their fundamentals were way out of whack last year. Like we saw how Gunners at defense improved tremendously. Jackson still left a lot to be desired. When Mountcastle was out for 8 to 12 weeks, we saw that the first base defense really suffered because of that. They need to get more fundamentally sound, and having a good first baseman who's going to save a lot of throwing errors, that helps your ball club, and so maybe. Let's say the Mountcastle is the everyday first baseman for the Orioles. Let's say he hits 270 with 15 to 20 home runs this year. You can take that and be okay with that because of what he provides you defensively in saving a lot of throwing errors. So, but I also, to your point, Zach, I do believe that they're looking to bring in another bat, and it just kind of makes it so if it doesn't happen, you have a decent contingency plan in Ryan Mountcastle. And with that, Kobe Mayo, do you think that this makes it that much more likely that he is part of a package to trade for a legitimate starting pitcher, or maybe maybe a closer or back end reliever?
I think they're going to wait on if they can land Pete or somebody, Bellinger or something like that. Then you probably see Mayo go. I don't think by any means they want Kobe Mayo off this team. It's just Kobe Mayo just presents the best trade option. He's got probably the most value. He was a top, coming off the top 100 list. We all know about his power. He did look like he started to get a little bit better at first base. So, I mean, he did get pretty hot towards the end of the season. Their last 4 weeks, he swung the bat fairly well. So I don't think by any means if they have Kobe Mayo on the 2026 roster that they're upset. I think they're probably pretty happy. It's just if they land Pete Alonso, it just allows them to dangle Kobe Mayo out for maybe to start a package for Joe Ryan or somebody like that, or Sandy Alcantara or Edwin Cabrera if they want that, which I don't. But it allows them to kind of dangle him around. So Mountcastle, same thing. It's just it's depth for now, and then they just. Everything's it's a holding pattern until pen hits paper for one of these bigger guys that they move. I mean, we saw the report that Corey Seager might be available. I mean, could they throw a trade around and move him to first base? I mean, it's not like he can't field the ball. He's got a plus 10 fielding run value every single year at shortstop. So, his hands are good enough to play first, and he's only 31 years old. Like that's an option if they wanted to pull that trigger, and you still dangle Kobe Mayo. But that one I think is a little bit harder. I mean, with Pete being right-handed, you could still, kind of platoon him and Basayo at first base. But if you had two lefties, it's definitely much harder. But who knows? I think they like Mayo. I think we all like Mayo. I was actually watching a little bit of Mayo, like kind of compared to Pete Alonso, and I feel like if they mirrored those two stances, you could almost probably get the same player, maybe, at least stance-wise. Obviously, I'm never going to say that Kobe's going to turn into Pete, but it's close. I mean, just for what they look like stature-wise in the box, how they stand, where they hold their hands, how they load, like it's all very, very similar. I would love to see them get him here and then maybe let him work with him or something. I don't know, but I don't know. There's a lot of moves they could make.
Well, it seems right now they've put themselves into a position, Zach, where they have a lot of guys that should be everyday players for like three positions, right? Because you're going to have Taylor Ward potentially playing. If the roster stays the way it is right now, you've got Taylor Ward in left field, you've got Cowser in center, you've got O'Neill and Beavers platooning in right field.
Mm-hmm.
Then you've got Mountcastle, Mayo, Basayo, Rutschman. Who do you DH every day? Who do you play at first base? Who do you play in right field? Who's behind the dish? Because they want Adley and Basayo in the lineup at the same time, right? So one day one of them's catching, the other one's DHing, and vice versa. So then who's playing first base? Cowser, I mean, not Cowser. Mayo or Mountcastle. Who's playing right field? Ward, I'm sorry, Beavers or Tyler O'Neill. There's no way to have all of these guys in the lineup at the same time, but you can't justifiably not play one of them. The Ward signing is in my belief, in anticipation that they're saying we can't count on Tyler O'Neill to post up. We can't count on him. I also don't think that you should put Dylan Beavers in a situation where he's platooning. The guy, I
think he's starting right field every day.
I would have to imagine that he has to. So then if you want Tyler O'Neill in the lineup, he's got a DH. Well, then who's sitting between Rutschman and Basayo? Who's sitting between Mountcastle and Mayo? It really makes you think a trade's coming or a DFA that we didn't see coming is coming. I personally think there's a good chance that the Orioles could be shopping Colton Cowser. And I would love
it's possible.
I would love to get your thoughts on that because, I mean, but at the same time, he's the only guy on the roster that you can really trust in center field. I have no idea what they're going to do. When you look at the roster as it's currently situated, there is no way that they're entering spring training with all of these guys on this roster.
No. And we haven't even talked about Jeremiah Jackson yet.
Yeah.
Which is a guy that I feel like has probably earned a lot of at-bats as well. Where do you put him? Now, Jeremiah Jackson has played 175 innings in center field. So is that a right-handed option potentially to swap with Cowser against tough lefties? Beavers is actually faster than Cowser. I don't know if his defense is as good, but he is faster. So they might have internal options if they want to try it. Enrique Bradfield Jr. could make this team out of spring training for all we know. I honestly think they're going to give him a legitimate shot to try to see if he can hit. Now, I did watch
Arizona Fall League.
Yeah, I watched him. So he is. Did you watch him at all? His at bats?
I didn't get a chance, unfortunately.
I think the O's are going to just completely scrap everything. So he points his front foot at the pitcher, and he's wide open, and he stands literally like this with his knob pointing at the pitcher and staring at him wide open, just like I'm looking at this camera. This is how he stands at the pitcher.
Mm-hmm.
And then as it comes in is when he rotates back.
Almost
like modified Tony Batista. But Tony was open. Bradfield's literally pointing at the pitcher. So it's very odd. I think the new staff here is going to fix that pretty quickly. It worked for him, so to say, because you're still getting into a hitting position. It doesn't matter how you start. I mean, baseball has proven that time after time after time over these years. It doesn't matter how you start. It matters is, you get your hands back. But, he could get changed. He could make that lineup out of there. I seen somebody just mention Tavares. I don't want Tavares on this team at all.
Neither do I. Neither do I.
Give him his $1 million and cut him. Sure, he can play a little bit of outfield. I don't care. I don't need another Jorge Mateo that plays once every 6 days and just catches 1 or 2 balls in center field. I don't need that roster spot. Just cut him, get rid of him. Let somebody else pay him to run and stuff like that. We've got plenty of speed. We don't really, I mean, could you use it? Sure. Especially if you sign Pete, have a late inning runner, but I have PTSD from the whole Mateo situation. I don't want anybody like that on this roster. It sucks to even say that. But there might be internal options. I think they valued Taylor Ward over Harrison Bader, especially at the price range, even though I think Ward is probably, after arbitration, going to make a little bit more than what Bader would have made this year. I just think that they probably, Bader was probably good enough for center field, but I think they wanted more pop. So we'll see. We'll see.
So I am intrigued by the idea of Enrique Bradfield. And so let's say that the Orioles pull off a trade and there's space now for Pete Alonso, right? You've got Pete Alonso playing in you've got Pete Alonso DHing playing first base. Maybe you've got Ward in left field, you've got Bradfield in center field, and you've got Cowser, Beavers in right field, or some kind of combination. Even then, I don't see how it works. But if you can have those big boppers, you bring in Alonso, you bring in a Ward, you've got Gunn, you've got Westberg, all those guys, right? Does it then make Enrique Bradfield okay to have play center field every day, give you elite defense, elite speed, and bat him ninth and say, you might hit 210, and we're okay with that because of the defense that you bring in. When you do get on base, you're going to steal second and third base every time. Like, do the Orioles become okay with that?
If you have multiple other guys in a lineup that are good, like Pete or Bregman or something like that, but if you had Bradfield and Cowser in a lineup and Holiday, I think there's just too many holes at that point, at least from what we have to go into the season with. I mean, obviously they could get better. But speaking from at this exact moment, I don't know if there's just too many holes at that point. Now, Tampa did it with, was it Sampson? What's his name?
Simpson. I think his last name's Simpson, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They didn't care. It was just go run and get the ball. He had no arm. They didn't care. Just get it in. You can cut it off, hold a guy to a single, get it in, drop a bunt, steal second, steal third, steal home if you had to. Like, they could very well give Bradfield that opportunity. I don't think he's as fast as Simpson, but he's not that far behind. So it's possible. I mean, look, this defense sucked last year in all phases, infield, outfield, catching. They were not good at catching the ball and doing the routine things. They just weren't good. So they could prioritize defense and stick him out there. And I wouldn't complain. I wouldn't complain one bit. Because like you said, 210, if you hit him in the 9 hole, like, okay, like, whatever. You know what I mean? Like,
Enrique Bradfield plays center field for the Baltimore Orioles in 140 games this year, and he hits 210. Let's say with like a 290 on base percentage, right?
Yeah,
that's still a guy who's going to give you Gold Glove defense, and he probably still steals 30 to 40 bags, if not more, right? Because when and he's also somebody who can lay down a bunt and use his legs to get infield hits, right? So I look at a guy like here's the thing. Let's be perfectly honest and realistic about this. It's not going to happen. I don't see when you look at this. It could. I just don't. I don't see it unless you trade Colton Cowser or Dylan Beavers. That's the only way that I think it could happen, because I do think that the Orioles look at their entire outfield as it currently stands, and they see all those guys as everyday players. And if you don't see Beavers as an everyday player, how does he ever become that if all you do is platoon him, right? So, and we're also anticipating, this is also with the mindset that right now, it's thinking that Tyler O'Neill is going to be healthy, and that's foolhardy to think that that's going to be the case.
Yeah. No, I don't think we see the platoon as much anymore. When Janeski Noel came up for the Guardians, like he got some good at bats. And he got 179 at bats his first year and got 106 or 148 last year. So when he comes up, he plays. Like, they didn't platoon him that much. He just didn't hit, and obviously he just went back down. But to go back to your point, if Bradfield hit 210, there was 10 teams in baseball that the 9 spot hit below 215. And Baltimore hit 209. So if he hits 210, like you said, if you got other pieces around him, who cares? You know, they had the best team in baseball had 27 steals out of the 9 spot, and the Orioles had 16, which is probably most of them was Mateo.
Yeah.
So if you got him in here and you up that from 16 steals to 30 with one guy, like you're ultimately scoring more runs already. So I don't see it as an impossible situation. It just, I mean, they would have to obviously get the right package if they wanted to deal Colton, but Colton could go either way. Colton, look, he didn't have a healthy offseason last year. Remember, he got hit in the playoffs in 2024, broke his wrist.
Yeah.
He missed a lot of his offseason. And then he slides into first base, game 2 or 3, and breaks his thumb. That takes a long, whether he could come back and play early or not, it takes longer to even really heal and get right. So he didn't have several months to get himself ready. And it looked like crap. He could come out and become a better player and that everybody starts to like again. Or he could become a Kyle Lewis who gets pretty close and or wins Rookie of the Year like Kyle did, and then just be trash and never play again.
And
we see that split very quick with him.
You forgot to mention that he jumped into that wall and broke 2 ribs and played the rest of the season with broken ribs. Not to
Which
interrupt
is stupid on the Orioles part.
Yeah, and that's not to interrupt you. Like, look, nobody's been harder on Colton Cowser than I've been. And again, it's not because maybe I am an asshole. Maybe I really am. I don't think that I am. But like, look, I just want this team to be the best possible version of this team. And what I've seen from Colton Cowser, with the exception of a really hot start to 2024 and like a hot July and a nice 3-week stretch this year where he hit a bunch of home runs, I've seen a guy who can't hit anything but a fastball, and like just watches a lot of pitches right down the middle because he just looks lost at the plate and doesn't know what the hell's coming, and so do I think that the talent and the ability is there for him to be a lot better? I do. Do I think that he was put behind the 8 ball last year because he broke his hand, and then as soon as he's right and he's back, he immediately breaks his thumb? Yeah, that sucked. And then he comes back and he breaks his ribs jumping into a wall, making a great catch. Like, the guy's got a great personality. He has light tower power, and he's got a hell of an arm. It may not be very accurate, but he's got a hell of an arm, and he plays hard. Like, I love that about him. I don't love the low batting average and the high strikeouts, especially in big situations. But that doesn't mean that I don't think that he can become that like with a full healthy off season, then a new hitting coach teaching him a new approach. Because Zach, weren't you telling me that like his bat angle on his swings was like severe? 39% launch angle on his swings, right?
Yeah,
so
39 degrees. So I think the only 2 guys that were higher, one was Freddie Freeman at 41. I mean, everybody knows Freddie swings up, but it works for Freddie. I think I pulled the numbers last night. I actually released a video about an hour before this live started going over what their hitting philosophy was last year. And I do blame a lot of the struggles on that philosophy. I pulled, the per pitch stat. Fastballs, they were decent at, but they were one of the worst teams in baseball on changeup. So it wasn't just Colton Cowser. They were one of the worst teams in baseball against curveballs. So again, wasn't just Cowser. And they were just meh against sliders. So if it wasn't just a fastball, they really couldn't hit. And to me, that was an organizational issue more than just a Colton Cowser issue. And I seen somebody say Colton Cowser could benefit from a good hitting coach. I completely agree with that. I think the whole team could, as long as they do change this philosophy to kind of go back to see ball, hit ball, rather than guess. Because like you said, we watched a lot of pitches right down the middle. See ball, hit ball, hit it hard, hit it with backspin. Don't try to do anything else. Don't be cute. I think a lot of these guys are just going to benefit just from just playing relaxed at this point. Cowser's a guy, I think you feed him too much information and he just goes up there just like, oh God, this guy throws 71% fastballs in an 0-1 count. Like, and then he throws a changeup. He looks silly. Like sometimes you can't feed players too much information. I think Cowser's probably that guy. See ball, hit ball. He's a good ball player, right? Just don't overthink it. And I'm excited to see Cowser with somebody else. Now, if he comes out and still stinks, then we just know he stinks as a player at this point. But I do think I'm putting the benefit of the doubt into this new staff just because of what I saw yesterday and when I was pulling these numbers, and we just stunk.
Yeah. Look, nobody wants to see Colton Cowser succeed more than I do. and it's I don't hate the guy. I don't hate the guy, and I love the potential that the player has. I think Colton Cowser should be able to hit 275 with 30-plus home runs in this league. I honestly believe that he should be capable of that. He hasn't shown me that he's going to do that to this point. But again, like you said, behind the 8 ball all year long because of the injuries. Hopefully those ribs have gotten a chance to heal up. But I don't know how long it takes rib injuries. You had broken ribs, right? Didn't you have a rib injury?
I pulled a oblique and it took about 6 weeks.
Right. And so like with him, he broke 2 ribs. Now he hasn't played in going on 2 months, right? And then he's probably got another 3 months until the season, until spring training games really start?
I would say he'll probably get down there probably the second week of February, probably. I bet you we see a lot of guys get down there pretty early this year to kind of get in there with the coaching staff and
well, they're going to go early anyway,
yeah,
right? Because of the WBC, they have to go earlier. So instead of maybe like February 13th, 14th, maybe they're getting there like February 2nd, February 3rd, something like that.
I think Gunnar ends up playing on that too.
You think so?
I do. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, there's so much, and I know we got to get you out here at 11:15, and there's so much I want to talk about today. First and foremost, we got to pay some bills. So if you're feeling sluggish, unfocused, or not like yourself, it could be low testosterone. At Game Day Men's Health, they specialize in testosterone replacement therapy to help men boost energy, improve mood, and regain confidence. Our treatments, including testosterone cypionate, are safe, natural, and tailored to fit your lifestyle with weekly injections or pellet therapy. Call Game Day Men's Health at Owings Mills at 443-264-4454, Columbia at 443-266-3505, or Frederick at 240-931-3717, or visit GameDayMen'sHealth.com and ask them about a complimentary testosterone test today. Some other arbitration surprises, at least for me. I look at Albert Suarez, non-tendered. I thought for sure they'd tender him a contract. I look at Yennier Cano, tendered a contract. It doesn't surprise me, but it also does surprise me because of the fact that he was so bad last year and he got demoted twice. And then you look at Alex Jackson, who was arbitration eligible, and they traded him to the Twins for a 26-year-old minor league shortstop who has pretty solid numbers, but probably not gonna crack your big league roster. He's more minor league depth. Yeah. Were you as surprised as I was? Maybe not. Maybe that's not the term. But how did you feel about these moves yesterday? Were you surprised to see that Cano is going to be given another opportunity? Albert Suarez, Elias said that they're still going to want to talk to him to potentially bring him back, but he was non-tendered. Your thoughts on these moves yesterday with regards to arbitration?
I don't think any of them really surprised me. I mean, I made the comment about, like, do you even need Alex Jackson? Because Taylor Ward was drafted as a catcher. He has logged one full, complete big league game behind the plate in 2021. Like, he could be your emergency catcher like Ryan Flaherty used to be. So you don't need to carry 3 catchers. So he doesn't surprise me whatsoever. Cano really doesn't surprise me either. It's just $1.8 million. That's an easy risk. He still has 2 minor league options left. He starts the year in AAA. He's basically making $800,000 more than, an average AAA player who's played more than 6 years. So it's not that big of a deal to kind of hold him down there and kind of see if he can fix it. I've pulled his numbers. As long as he doesn't throw a sinker, he's completely fine. But the problem is you got to get the ball over the plate at some point. You can't throw a changeup every time, but the four seam is actually okay. The sinker gets absolutely demolished. And I think it's because it rides right back in the middle of the plate pretty much every single time. He can't throw it on the corners, but he can throw the changeup on the corners, which is why it's an effective pitch. I think they go in there. They're probably going to look at that. They might tweak maybe the grip or something like that. They may switch to a cutter. He started throwing a cutter at the very end of last year. So we'll see. I mean, maybe that's something that they kind of move to him full time. Give him a little bit of time to kind of throw with it. We'll see what he does in spring. I don't know. I just think it's kind of worth it for $1.8 million. It's kind of whatever.
It makes sense. Yeah. Jabo says options versus no options. He's got 2 options remaining, right? So it does make sense. And he doesn't have, just because he's going to be tendered a contract doesn't mean he has to start on the big league roster. Cano could start in AAA this season and earn his way back up. But anyway, go ahead with Suarez.
It doesn't even have to be 1.8 either. That's just Sports Track's market value. You know, they could say like, hey, you struggled this year. We're going to start you in AAA. We're only giving you 1.4, 1.5. Like, and at that point, it's even better. Like, it doesn't even matter. So Suarez, I think maybe probably shocked some people, but maybe the shoulder's not as healthy as maybe they anticipated. And they're going to try and get him a little bit cheaper. That I don't know. I don't think his arbitration number would have been much different than the contract they would probably re-sign him at if they wanted to go that route. But I don't know. I mean, he's older. He's what, 35, 36. Maybe they just cut bait, you know, and thank him for his services. I don't know.
Well,
maybe
Tyler
they had
Wells
to do
can
something.
replace that role. 100% replace, and maybe do it better.
Right. So, I mean, maybe it came down to a roster size issue with the 40-man because you did give Batista that contract. There's a lot of variables that we'll probably never know of why it happened. If they bring him back, then you know it was some kind of roster construction issue or something. So I don't know. That one was probably the most surprising, but to me, it's whatever. At this point, you should be bringing in better pitchers in your bullpen than him anyway.
Yeah. You said Batista. They gave him what, 2.6 million or 2.5 million for
2.6, yeah,
2.6 for 2026, and with that, it's not a lot of money. He's going to have to rehab the entire season anyway. Look, you and I both agree he's probably done. He's probably done. But if he's not, right? If he's not, and you non-tender him, and another team picks him up for 2.6 million, and then he comes back in 2027 throwing 98, 99, 100 with a nasty sinker or a nasty splitter, then you're sitting there and you're like, we're pissed off at the front office for not keeping him in-house. And so, like, I'm inclined to think that he's going to be done for his career. I just don't see how you come back from a completely torn rotator cuff and a completely torn labrum and have any kind of velocity after that. Right. But it doesn't cost you a lot to wait and see, you know?
Yep. I completely agree.
Yeah. So then hey, by the way, just a little sidebar here. We keep seeing the ornithologically correct bird on these Orioles posts. And do you think they're going to be making that bird more prominent this year?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Like the hat I'm wearing right now, I'm not going to take off my headphones, but the hat I'm wearing right now is the one with the white panel on the front with the ornithologically correct bird. Do you think we see a lot more of that, like on the hats on the field?
Probably.
Yeah. I think that's coming too. I always liked that bird. Like the teams I grew up watching, like the 96 and 97 Orioles. I loved the 93 Orioles for some reason. They had that bird on their hat. So I have, and I still have one of the old hats hanging up right there. You can't see it.
Isn't that the logo that Rubenstein wears all the time too?
Yeah. What is that? What he wears? Does he wear like the diamond with the Orioles in the across the middle?
He does that too. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think that they're going to use it all. I don't know why we have to retire anything anyway. Just use every logo you've got. They got a ton of them. They got a ton of cool logos. Use all of them at different points. But anyway, that was just a little bit of a sidebar. So a lot of people are starting to ask in the comments here, like what moves the Orioles could make. I want to go back where. Oh, okay. Jabo. He said, what are the odds we sign Alonso or Tucker? Best guess. Tucker.
I would say, yeah, go ahead.
Tucker, I'm going to put it 10% or less. I really think Boris is going to use them for leverage. I would love if the Orioles come out tomorrow and they've given him 11 years, $440 million. You know, I'll jump up and down. You know what I mean? But I don't know if the Orioles are willing to go that high. I don't know if they are willing to go that high, and if they should be willing to go that high because he's 29, 30 years old. You're going to pay him that much when he's 40, you know. And then I think Alonso, I put Alonso at 50% or higher for me. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I would do 65% or higher for Alonso. Tucker, I'd probably put at 0. Nobody knows around this league Kyle Tucker better than Mike Elias. I think he's taking the injury concerns into stake here. Is he a great hitter? Yes. Is he an injury concern? Yes. Do you want to give an injury concern $400+ million? Probably not. I mean, he's in his 20s and had constant leg issues. You know, what's going to happen when he's 33 years old and he's got 8 years left on his deal, and he can't run down first base, right? And then you're locked into a DH. I don't think Mike's going to be that risky. Alonso's a more surefire player. It's just, I mean, I'd take Bo Bichette over Kyle Tucker, to be completely honest with you. Is Tucker a great player? He really is. But you get half the amount of money spent for almost the same type of production. I'd rather have Bichette.
With regards to Tucker, I would not be surprised. He's going to sign with somebody else. He may go back to the Cubs. I don't think he wants to go back to the Cubs, to be perfectly honest with you. He may sign with the Dodgers. He may sign with the Yankees. Maybe he ends up in Boston. I don't know. But I do firmly believe
I see the Giants going big after him.
Yeah, I could see that too. They went big after Judge before he ended up re-signing with the Yankees. I could see the Giants doing that. The way that I look at Tucker, I think we're going to hear something very similar later in the offseason, maybe even in the spring training, like what we heard about Corbin Burns, where the Orioles offer Tucker. Maybe they offer him something like 5 years and $235 million. 5 years, $250 million, where they're offering him $45 to $50 million for over the course of a smaller term contract. So the average annual value higher than what he gets offered from anybody else, but the years are lower because of exactly what you said, the leg issues. He's 29 years old. Are you really willing when he's 35, 36 and he's a full-time DH? You know what I mean? Are you still willing to pay him that kind of money? So you get the best out of his remaining prime years, and then you're done with him. And I don't think that he signs for that. I don't see it. I don't think he signs for that. So Pete Alonso, I think you can get Alonso for 4 to 5 years with a high average annual value. If you give Alonso, and what do you think that average annual value is going to be for a guy like Alonso? Is it going to be, 30, 35 million? Are
probably 30.
High? Yeah. So 4 years, 5 years, 120 to 150 million. Is he willing to sign that? To come be the force in the Orioles lineup? And then with regards to Bichette, I would love to have Bo Bichette. I would love to have Bo Bichette, and then where's he going to play? I don't know that they need to trade Holiday to bring in Bichette, because you could bring in Bichette and you could move Holiday to the outfield, or you could move Holiday to short, Gunnar to third, Westberg to first. Or Bichette could play first base. To add a guy who, if he stays healthy and he plays 140, 150 games, he's going to hit over 300. He's going to hit close to 30 home runs, and he's going to get close to 200 hits. Sign me up for that in blood. You put Bo Bichette in the top of your lineup. Wow.
Yeah. Now, I mean, Bo's played less games than Tucker since 2023, but he had that broken wrist and missed a lot of time. I think he got hit by a pitch or something. That's just a freak accident.
Yeah.
I'm not saying Tucker's a bad player by any means. Obviously, Tucker's the head and clear shoulder best player available this year. It's that risk once he hits 33. You get 3 good seasons out of him in an 11-year contract. That's tough. Now, if you win a World Series in those 3 years, is it worth it? Maybe, but I'd want to win 2. I'm greedy.
Right.
But we should probably start with 1 first, but or even just a playoff one would be pretty nice at this point.
Well, but also you could do something where, like what the Blue Jays did with Anthony Santander, right? Where a lot of that contract is in a signing bonus, and it's really front loaded. And so even though he's making what, 19.5, 20 million a year, his average annual value is more like 13 million a year. There are ways for the guys that are way smarter than Zach and I will figure out to get a guy like Kyle Tucker signed to a long-term deal where you're not hampered in the future. There's ways to get it done. Look, nobody is going to be upset if the Orioles sign Kyle Tucker. It's probably the guy that we would all want the most, to be honest with you. But I firmly believe he's going to sign with somebody else, and we're going to hear that they offered him more average annual value, but way less years. And he said no. That's just how I think it's going to go. So
I mean, you could get funky with it if you wanted to, and do like 7 for $440 and give him $64 million a year, and then do like 150 deferred or something like that over 10 years, which is 15 a year at that point. And if you won a World Series in then 7 years, does it matter that you're paying him $15 million a year for 10 years after he's retired? I don't think it does. I really don't think it does. And would he turn down a $50-60 million a year contract? Hell no. If that's what you want to, get creative. But you're either going to have to, like you said, front load it or you're gonna have to defer it for a while. And
Yeah.
listen, if you're willing to defer it on Chris Davis, like why not on Kyle Tucker?
Right. Would this get it done? 7 to 8 years, 350 to 380 million.
Let's see. What's 350 divided by 7?
50 million.
If he would turn that down, he's stupid.
Yeah. I think that could get it done because he's making so much money, and you're not. A lot of these long-term contracts, you're paying for the front half of the contract, not the back half. And if you're going to get 4 or 5 good years out of Kyle Tucker, you're okay paying those last 4 or 5 years where you just get a mediocre Tucker who maybe hits 250 with 20 home runs. You're okay with that because he probably helps you win a World Series or 2.
Yeah,
right?
and look, he steals bags too. Even with leg issues, he still has 66 steals since 23, and he can move. 380 on base percentage. He's a good ball player, and he definitely would help. Hit 74 home runs in the last 3 years, and that's with missing time. So I'm not against it if they want to go that route. I just think somebody else is going to get a little bit more creative than us. I think we're just going to look right now to just spend the money up front. I don't think they want to spend money. I just don't know if they want to spend $380+ million on one guy.
Right.
I think that's a little tough in year one to really spend money. But if you want to go win and make a splash, then just go do it.
Jabo agrees with you. If the Orioles acquire Bichette, then Westberg or Mayo is definitely going. I don't see
one of them, sure.
I don't see any way they're trading Westberg right now. Now, talk to me next offseason if he has these freak injuries again and he only plays 100 games. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I don't see Westberg getting traded right now. They love him. And everybody in Baltimore loves Jordan Westberg. I'm a huge Jordan Westberg guy.
Listen, though, he is 26. So if he only plays 100 games again going into his age 27 season,
then we have a different conversation. Then we have to have a different conversation. But if he can stay healthy this year, if you get 130+ games out of Jordan Westberg this year, he's going to hit 270. He's going to hit close to 30 home runs. Play good defense no matter where you put him. The guy is just a ball player. He's just a gritty, hard-nosed ball player. He's going to play well no matter where you put him. And that's why I really think that, let's go back to the Corey Seager thing real quick. They're trying to shed payroll. We saw that the Rangers, they non-tendered Jonah Hyman, Adolis Garcia. No, do not sign Adolis Garcia. Please don't do that.
No. I think he's done.
Yeah, but they you look at they're trying to trade Corey Seager. If the Orioles go and they trade for Corey Seager, Gunnar moves to third. Gunnar moves to third base because
or you talk him into playing first.
Yeah, but I think that you put Gunnar.
I think you take the glove.
And you put Corey Seager at short. He's one of the best defensive shortstops in the game. You put Corey Seager at shortstop. You're going to tell me Jordan Westberg can't play first base? You're going to tell me that? Because there's no...
Jordan Westberg's fast enough to play the outfield.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't realize that.
And he's got a good arm. Westberg can play corner outfield. Westberg can play second base. Westberg can play first base, in my opinion. He hasn't done it, but you're not going to give it... Do you remember when the Orioles had Nick Markakis play first base and he played well over there, made some nice picks? You're not going to tell me, and Ramon Arias can play for you. You won't convince me that Jordan Westberg can't be a solid everyday first baseman. Yeah. And now you found a way to play 4 shortstops in your infield at the same 4 first-round shortstops, and Gunnar was a second round. But you get what I'm saying, essentially. 4 of the best shortstops in baseball in your infield at the same time.
I mean, I'm looking right now at the MLB versus Kyle Tucker and Corey Seager. Tucker's got a 14.8 WAR since 23. Seager 18.3. He's a better ball player.
Seager played 100 games, 113 games. I think Seager played last year, and his WAR was 6.2.
Yeah, Seager's played 30 less games than Kyle Tucker. Has more hits, more home runs, a higher batting average, higher slugging, higher OPS, and a higher OPS plus. Obviously, he only has 6 stolen bases and only 220 RBIs. So Kyle beats him in games, plate appearances, RBIs, and stolen bases, and then on base percentage.
What's his salary?
Corey Seager.
What?
33 a year, I think. I know it's like 6 years left.
Yeah, you got 6 years left.
But he's 31.
31. Man.
So you got this year. Once you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 years left at $31 million a year. So you're paying less than you would pay Kyle Tucker, and you would potentially get a better ball player, and he's still left-handed.
Can you imagine Gunnar Henderson and Corey Seager hitting in the top third of the Orioles lineup.
Sure.
Like,
and then you go and get Pete Alonso too.
My God. Dude, we sound like
it's the best offense in baseball.
We sound like Yankee fans right now. I saw a Yankees fan post yesterday. Go sign Tucker, bring Bellinger back, and sign Alonso, and let's go. And it's like,
right.
That's what we kind of sound like right now. But like, even if they don't get Alonso and you trade for Corey Seager, oh my God.
So listen, I just want to kind of butt in there for a second. I apologize. Mike Elias can't keep saying these things and saying that we can go into the red. Going into the red means the CBA tax, that first threshold. You know how much money that is that he's saying that they are willing to go into? That's $182 million that we could potentially spend this offseason.
Mm-hmm.
You're talking a big game, dude. And if you come out and you just bring in Taylor Ward after talking that big game, well, I'm telling you right now, these fans are not coming to watch games.
They're projected.
Like it's done.
Their projected opening day payroll right now, if they do nothing else, like $105 million. They were at $165 million to start last year. So they're 60,
that's almost 70 right there.
They're 60, 70 million under where you anticipate they should be. That's, I mean, and let's say that they don't.
That could be just two players, but
it could be. But let's imagine that those two players are, let's say they trade for Corey Seager and they sign Framber Valdez, or those two players are Framber Valdez and Pete Alonso, and then you trade for Mackenzie Gore or Joe Ryan, right?
Right.
Like, now you get excited. Now you get excited because you know it's coming. You know something massive is coming. And we've heard reports in the past that the Orioles have been aggressive. Every single person out there that you trust is saying the Orioles are probably the most aggressive team of the offseason right now. Something's going to happen. Something's going to happen. Like more than something. I think a lot's going to happen because I don't know about you. I think Elias's job is on the line.
100%. 100%. I think
his job's on the line.
It's not coming from David Rubenstein anymore. I think it's coming from Argetti.
Yeah.
So,
like
he's got a lot of money invested into it. He wants things done.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. This team is going to look very, very. I think that all of Birdland is going to be giddy when we get to spring training. I don't know I don't know what that means. I don't know who those players are, and so like, I'm glad we did this show today because talking it out, it's like you said earlier, we have PTSD. Last off season, all the trade deadlines, like we have PTSD, right? But you look at it and you think, okay, there's no way that they can get through this off season and not make massive additions to this team.
Everything's changed. So everything that they do right now is already changed.
It's completely changed. Now, what if the massive payroll additions are one of it is an extension for Gunnar? Are you as excited? I'm excited to have an extension for Gunnar. Are you as excited if that comes at the cost of maybe you only get one starting pitcher instead of two, or maybe you don't add another like big time bat to the middle order to protect Gunnar?
I think you got to protect him at this point. And I was kind of looking at Taylor Ward, and I'm glad you brought up protection. Like, he had Joe Adell hidden behind him. Like,
Adell had
Mike
a nice
Trout
year
was in
last
front
year.
of him. He had a power year, but he hit like 208 or 218 or something like that. Like,
I thought he hit.
Nobody feared Joe Adell. No, I think he was pretty terrible. I thought.
Really, he hit 236.
Was it 236?
Yeah, he had two. See, in 23,
he had 98 RBIs. Yeah,
in 23 and 24, he had 207. But last year he had 236 with 37 home runs.
Right, but even after them, like they had God, I just had it pulled up too.
I think he had the same OPS as Ward, 111.
Yeah, they had nobody hitting fifth. That was any decent at all. Who was it? I think it was Logan O'Hoppe. Like you could go right. Yeah, Logan O'Hoppe had the most at bats hitting fifth for them. And that dude hit 255 in that role. But like, He's had 29 RBIs. Like,
Yeah.
who's afraid of Logan O'Hoppe? So you had Noah Chanel, you had Mike Trout, then you had Ward, and then you had Joe Adell. Like, honestly, you went after both of them. They had no protection behind them. But you bring in Ward, and then you have Gunnar Henderson behind him, who's motivated, and then you have Corey Seager or Pete Alonso or whatever, and then Tyler O'Neill or Basayo, or Mayo, like whoever decides they want to start hitting the ball out of the ballpark, like that's a better lineup than what Ward, in my opinion, has really come from. So I think Ward's better overall from what this team needs. But yeah, I mean, I think at this point, you got to protect Gunnar. He hasn't really had anybody. Now Santander was a feared power hitter, but everybody and their mother knew you could go right after him. Like if you didn't throw a high fastball, you went right after him, you struck him out, or you got him to pop up. Like he struggled to hit the ball low, and he hit the ball high out, and you could go right after him. You could pitch around Gunnar Henderson, and then this year he had absolutely no one behind him, none. Gunnar did not see the pitches he was seeing the year prior. He was getting them balls underneath the hands or up and away. He struggles to hit the ball up and away, in my opinion. And I feel like he really struggles to see but he struggles to see strike three on the outside corner, low outside corner. He looks at it every time and looks at the umpire like they're an idiot, but it's right there every single time. But like with a 3-2 count, and if you had Pete Alonso behind him, can you throw it on that outside corner anymore with the threat of walking him? No, you got to put it more in the middle of the plate and hope the guy he gets himself out. So that allows Gunnar to smash the ball potentially rather than looking at that pitch. Like it's the little things that start changing where a pitch location goes because of who's behind you, what the situation is. You know, if it's bottom of the seventh, you put Gunnar on, you got Pete up. Like so much changes just having protection behind Gunnar Henderson.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like Taylor Ward, you know, despite the low batting average and the high number of strikeouts, his whiff rate middling, I think it's like in the 55th percentile, something like that. His chase rate is in the 90th percentile. So they're going to have to throw the ball over the plate to him to get him out. And that right there does provide more protection for Gunnar. Man, I don't want to get too excited about the idea of who else they could bring in, because then, like, if it doesn't happen, I'm going to be absolutely devastated. You know what I mean?
Right.
But
I'm at that point.
It is. I mean, let's be honest. I'm already there.
Yeah.
Right. But like, it would be really something else if they bring in, like a Corey Seager. What would the Orioles have to give up to acquire Seager? I agree with Jabo. Not as much as you would think, because it would be a salary dump. You'd still have to get up something. What would you be willing to give up to Texas to get Corey Seager in this lineup?
I think I would probably give up Trey Gibson.
Okay.
And
do you give up a Mayo? Or I was gonna say, do you give up a Mayo or a Kowser as part of that?
I would. I don't think he fits their team. They need outfield, obviously, and they need pitching. Well, every team in baseball needs pitching. If they would take Mayo, then yes. I just don't think that it just doesn't fit their plans. Like, I think you would have to add more guys into that rather than just giving them what they need.
Are the Orioles the only team in baseball that wouldn't view Mayo as a potential corner outfielder with that arm strength?
I mean, you got to catch the ball. You got to run and get the ball. The dude's got like a size like 17 shoe or something like that. Like
maybe that's why.
Yeah. What are his first steps really like?
Yeah, I mean, yeah. I don't know.
He's athletic. He's athletic. I'm not saying he's not. I'm just saying, like, are his first steps fast enough to go get that ball in right center and lay out and, you know, do what Anthony Santander did, you know, a game-saving diving play or something. I don't think he could get to that. Could he catch the ball in front of him, you know, running in, running back a little bit? Sure, but we're talking gaps and then in the corners and stuff. Like, can he save runs? If the bat is good enough, then who cares if he lets up a couple here and there? But is the bat good enough right now to let up those runs? That's the big question.
We haven't talked about the bullpen basically at all. Right, and we only have a little bit of time left. Real quick, I want to remind everybody today's show is brought to you by Glenn Clark Radio. If you missed anything from Glenn Clark Radio this week, including CBS's Charles Davis before he calls Ravens Jets and Angels color analyst Mark Gubica, I can never say his name right, talking about Taylor Ward. Find that and more in the Glenn Clark Radio Week in Review feature at PressBoxOnline.com. And as always, watch or listen to GCR every Monday through Friday at 10 a.m. at PressBoxOnline.com/radio or right here on PressBox's Facebook and YouTube pages. I love the idea of signing Fairbanks, trading for Gore. But signing Fairbanks, the Rays non-tendered, they released him. Basically, they released him.
Yeah.
What, 2.5 ERA the last few years? Does he immediately become your closer, or do you sign him to be a setup man and then go sign a closer or trade for a closer?
I like him as a closer. I mean, the fastball velocity dipped a touch. He still touches 97 from time to time. It's just it doesn't sit at 97 anymore. Mm-hmm. I think he still's got a pretty good run on the sinker. I like him. I know they do like Helsley too. Who of those would be your setup man, your closer? I don't think it matters. I mean, if you have two of those guys that have done it before, like let them just go out and compete, and whoever matches up better, whoever's up that day, just go close for you. I don't think you need a dedicated closer if you have two guys that are that good. Mm-hmm. I would take both, obviously. I think both of them would probably cost you roughly, I'll say $25 million for both, just for 1 year.
Right.
They're both going to probably command a multi-year deal, 2-3 year. Do they want to do that? I don't know, but I mean, I wouldn't even hate bringing back Anthony Dominguez. And if you had Kittredge, Dominguez, Fairbanks, and Helsley to use in your 7th, 8th, and 9th, I feel pretty comfortable with that. You know, all four guys there give you a different look, and whoever just matched up better. Look, Craig's coming from Cleveland, right? The last 2 years, that's been the absolute best bullpen in baseball. So when he gets to the 7th inning, he's used to winning games. Very rarely would they blow a save. He's going to demand that here, I believe. They're going to get some bullpen help. They're not going to go in there and try and finish out or start 26 like they finished out 25. I can tell you that. Craig wants some bullpen.
Yeah, look, I think we all want a lockdown bullpen. Andrew Kittredge, bringing him back, I really love that move, especially when you got a 17-year-old Dominican player, Dominican shortstop in return for him at the deadline. And now you bring him back for cash considerations. I mean, that's a fleecing in my humble opinion. I like that. I like the idea of Dietrich Enns having an opportunity. Cade Stroud was really good for them last year. So they've got some internal options. I still believe that Cade Povich and what's the other guy's name? Why can't I think of his name?
Brandon Young.
Yeah, and Brandon Young. I still believe that those guys are bullpen options for this team before their starter options. You've got a lot of internal options. So, yeah, the Orioles need to rebuild their bullpen. They probably don't need to do as much as people think. I think they need a setup guy, and I think they need a closer. And then I think that they move on to other things, you know?
Yeah.
And so, you bring in a couple of guys like that. You bring in another bat for the offense, and then starting pitching. What do you think the Orioles make 2 signings, or do you think they make a signing and a trade, 2 trades? What in your heart of hearts, what do you believe they do?
Well, I think it depends who's available. I think they're going to swing big first at Framber. If they miss Framber, I think they probably pivot to Michael King. And King is still good. Obviously, he's cheaper, but I do think it's 1 sign, 1 trade. But I think that trade depends on if they get somebody to cover first base, because Mayo's the best chip. You're not trading Basayo. You don't want to trade Beavers, but I mean, I think they're going to try to trade potentially maybe for a couple guys. You might even see a trade for a bullpen arm. It's likely probably going to be a guy that none of us ever even heard of, but he probably just gets outs because that's just how the bullpen works. Guys just get outs that you never even heard of.
Guys that weren't even on your radar, like Craig Albarnez as a manager and Taylor Ward as the first offensive addition. Is that what you mean? There's a lot that's going to be done. I think they make 1 signing. I think they make 1 trade to address the rotation, and that's why I'm okay. I wasn't upset about Grayson getting traded, because Grayson's going to be on an innings limit this year. Maybe he's going to have to pitch out. The Angels are going to use him as a starter. We don't know how the Orioles were planning to use him. if the Orioles were planning to use him at all, and they don't feel like they can depend on him. So I was okay with it because I know that he's getting replaced by two starters that are likely as good or better when he's at his best. As far as the bullpen, I think they're going to maybe do a trade and a sign or two signings. They're going to address the bullpen. I'm just excited to see what's going to happen moving forward. By the time we do our next show, I will have my microphone issues addressed because I was just told my microphone is trash. This thing is very old, by the way. I don't know, man. There's just a lot that can happen between now and the start of spring training. It sounds to me like you're moving forward, operating as though the Orioles Mountcastle's not going to be here. Am I reading that correctly with you?
Probably. I think it really just depends on when pen hits paper for somebody else. I think right now it's just fully insurance, just in case.
Yeah, I tend to agree with you.
But I do think they give them their chance. They're going to give them a chance to see, if they work on him, how things work out in spring training. Like, is he getting the lift on the ball again? Is he pulling the ball? Like, all that. So they're going to give him his chance and then make their decision.
And then finally, Framber Valdez. Are you okay with the potential clubhouse issues, the hothead that crossed up his catcher intentionally? Are you okay with that for how good he is to bring in? And
yes.
he struggled down the stretch. He struggled towards the end of the season last year. You're okay with all that because he's the best pitcher on the market and he makes his team that much better.
Yes, you need a dominant left-handed pitcher, whether that be Framber, Ranger Suarez, or Mackenzie Gore. Every top team in the AL, what's at the top of the rotation? A left-handed starter.
Yep.
You got to match it. You got to match it at this point. You got Cole Reagans, you got Max Fried, you got Garrett Crochet, you got Tariq Skubal. I'm sure somebody else is going to pop up this year and probably have a left-handed starter. You got to match it with either right. That was our lefty. I mean, it was Trevor Rogers. So I mean, and I like Trevor, but is he in the same conversation with them in 26? I don't know. He had a great 25. We'll see what 26 brings. But I think you match it. You go after Framber and you go after a Ranger. One of the two. It doesn't bother me. Is it a bad look? Sure. Lots of bad looks happen around baseball. People forgave Manny Machado for, potentially throwing a bat at somebody and then, punching a guy and then, tripping a guy at first base on purpose. Like, people forgave Machado. You can forgive Framber Valdez. To me, it's a competitor. He showed his, he wore his emotions on his sleeve. You don't want that to usually happen on the field. It happened, but I want a guy out there who's pissed off and he wants to win baseball games.
Yeah. Are they going to have to pay? What are they going to have to pay Framber without handcuff the other moves? They've got, if you missed about 10, 15 minutes ago, they've got like 85 million that they're still probably willing to spend this offseason. I don't think one signing handcuffs them unless that signing is 50 million for Kyle Tucker. And then you're like, all right, I'm cool.
Yeah.
So yeah, they're not going to be handcuffed by one singular move this offseason. I can almost guarantee that. So, all right, Zach, what do you want to plug before we let you get out of here?
If you guys are new here, ever on, make sure you drop a follow here on the Bat Around. Is the Press Box Sports, and then my channel here, Pigtown Sports. We're on every social media platform, both of our channels. So if you guys are bored, check us out on every platform.
Yeah, guys, we're gonna try, and the next guaranteed show is going to be December 6th because that's the last show before the winter meetings start. If there wasn't a show scheduled for today until 2 days ago, and that's because everything that happened this week, we couldn't not talk about it. We had to come on. So if more stuff happens this coming week, we'll be back next week. If we're not back next week, you will see us 2 weeks from now talking about the winter meetings and what we anticipate could happen moving forward. Really exciting offseason for the Orioles. Really excited for the exciting offseason for the Orioles fans. I think we're going to be really, really happy with this team come February. I really, truly do. And if they don't do something at the winter meetings, a lot of these big signings don't happen until after the new year and closer towards spring training. So it's going to suck. We're all going to be, myself included, we're all going to be pretty upset with it. But, something's still going to happen if it doesn't happen at the winter meetings. We just got to be patient. All right. That's going to do it for us here on the Bat Around. Today's show has also been brought to you by, oh my gosh, I still have 2 reads to do. Today's show has been brought to you by County Sports Zone. We're in the throes of championship season in fall high school sports, and all year long find scores, schedules, and updates for every sport and every school all throughout the state of countysports.zone. Countysports.zone is proudly sponsored by your local Toyota dealer and buyatoyota.com. Zach, do you have to run?
Yeah. Wife wants us to take the kids to Port Discovery.
All right, man. Go do what you got to do. I'll finish things up over here. We'll talk throughout the week. All right.
All right. See you guys later.
Appreciate you, man. And then finally, today's show has also been brought to you by the latest edition of the Press Box print issue. There is a new print issue of Press Box available now. On the cover, Don Marcus learns more about new Maryland Athletic Director Jim Smith and the unique background he brings to the job. Also inside, we profile college basketball players from the teams all across the state. You can find the new issue for free all throughout the region, including now at all Baltimore area High's Dairy stores, or you can read the entire issue at PressBoxOnline.com. Just going to check the chat here for anything else. Let's see. One last thing. I think most of the signings this offseason will be about durability. Who will play 150 to 162 games? Absolutely. Rutschman's got to stay healthy. Westberg's got to find a way to play 130, 140 games at a minimum. Tyler O'Neill's got to find a way to play 100, 120 games and be that guy that when he plays 100 games, hits 30-plus home runs. These guys have to post up because you can have all the great players in the world, but if they don't post up, it doesn't really matter. And we saw that this past year when 30 guys spent time on the IL. 30 players. So let's get into it. Let's get this offseason off and running. We already are off and running. Super excited for what's about to come. Jabo, you're welcome. Thank you for tuning in every time we post. D. Barker, I agree, was a good talk today. Love talking Orioles baseball with Zach and with all of you. Looking forward to doing it again, and hopefully looking forward to doing it next week, because if we do it next week, that means the Orioles did something pretty big. Whatever they do, we'll talk about all of that and more here on the Bat Around. Until next week, see ya!